Thank you so much for participating in day one and in the group photograph. We're kicking off day two with an enlightening fireside chat on gender equity featuring Geetha Kannan, founder and CEO of Wequity, and Kanika Vaswani, co-founder of WEN. Kanika Vaswani is a distinguished professional in the realms of recruitment, consulting, and HR, with over 2 decades of pioneering experience. Her career spans diverse industries, including energy, life sciences, automotive, telecom, media engineering, and manufacturing. Geetha Kannan, a versatile entrepreneur leader, has been a pioneer for the women in IT movement in India. With over 30 years of global experience in business, technology, and leadership, Geetha's vision with Wequity is to provide high quality, integrated, and accessible resources to promote equality of outcomes for women in technology. Can I please request Geetha and Kanika to come on stage?
So good morning, everybody. Good morning. So after a very engaging and enriching session yesterday, so much was covered. I was not really sure what all and where should we start. So I thought we'll go back to basics. Gender, which is where we, I mean, all of us, diversity spectrum, easiest to understand. Like what Ritu was yesterday also mentioning. You know, we start from there because it's the easiest, most visible, connect easier. You know, 50% is men, 50% is women. So starting from there was easiest. And when me and Geetha, we were connecting and we were talking, and I was telling ma'am that, you know, from where we come, which is from the recruitment space, you know, I mean, there is more women than really men that we see in this space. So, you know, in a at a larger space, if we really look at it, we are, I mean, as a nation also, we've not really been there. I mean, there are a lot of work that is being done around you know, gender equality and equity, but I mean, are we really there? In the last 5 years of us running WEN, you know, we worked with largely recruitment people, HR people, and come across a lot of you know, women. But personally, I still see a lot of women struggling. I see a lot of struggling women to restart careers or probably bring in that balance. And a lot of them, you know, land up not making a successful comeback. You know, ma'am, you've worked on both the sides. At the corporate end, you've worked in the HR teams. You've sent, and in a technology-based environment. Today, you're working on the consulting side and largely been working towards tech. You know, so how has that journey been for you? I mean, looking at women, you know, this is an area where, while we were talking yesterday around a lot of work being done about PWD, but women, I mean, there is enough opportunities to study, work. I mean, parents are encouraging enough to, you know, take up opportunities, you know, but still the needle is not really moving. You know, what is your take? How do you see it?
I think this moving the needle seems to be a thing that I've been talking from 2006, and I'm still moving, and it's only a needle, I'm still moving it, right? But when you first started and said what Ritu said yesterday, I was just reminded, I thought I'll share what my boss, he used to be an Australian, and Australians have a very vivid way of putting things so that you can remember it for life, right? So he says, why did we focus on ethnicity and racial stuff and then go on to gender? Is because if a Martian came here to the planet, right? Anyway, we are going to Mars. The Mars people can also come here if there are people out there, right? If they come, what is the first thing that hits them? One is that all people are of different colors and all that. And okay. The second thing that hits them is, this is Australian, pardon, French or whatever it is, it's all lumps and bumps, right? So there is distinctly a way to distinguish between genders, according to my dear boss. But that's what we are trying to focus on, saying that please go back to the basics, because we're thinking, I'm not dissing any other diversity, I'm not dissing intersectionality, but somewhere we've forgotten gender, right? Because the Western countries, 30 years, 40 years, we're still struggling with ethnicity as well as gender, right? So the journey, keep on adding your intersectionality keep on adding those diversity segments, but don't forget that the gender story and forget about it and move on, right? Because that's, if you can get the gender story right, because what is inclusion, right? I have to be heard, I have to feel valued, I have to feel respected. Does that matter whether it's gender or PWD or LGBTQ or anything? As an individual, don't I have that right in an organization? And I think that's what organizations forget. But let me just give you a little STEM statistics before we go forward and I answer your question, because I probably answered everything but the question. India is #1 in terms of STEM education. #1, 43% of graduates in STEM today are women, right? And that's commendable, right? We're #1 in the world. But in terms of employment, we're number 19, right? So this is what I was telling Kanika yesterday, was that the leaking pipeline starts from there, from just graduating from STEM education to joining the workforce. We have a leaking pipeline there. Then we continue the leaking pipeline. Belong did a survey a long time ago, and which is still relevant today. If 29% people join the organization, females join the organization, in 12 years' time, there'll only be 7% of those left. Why? I'm going to borrow from a friend of mine from Microsoft named Charu. She said there are 3 M's. And because we deal with a larger community of women, I've added the 4th M. What are these 4 M's? Any guesses?
Marriage, motherhood.
Yeah, that's an M, yes, but what?
Marriage, motherhood.
And? Yeah. Then? No, menstruation, I mean, we're hoping that was all done before you came to the workforce, those Zomato and other companies. So yes, so the first one that hits everybody is marriage, right? The second one is motherhood. The third one is menopause, right? And we are seeing that more and more as it hits all of us, that it's every time that it's coming to the women to do most of the things that are happening in so the whole balancing act along with all these lovely M's is making it more and more difficult. So the easiest thing is what? The easiest decision, quit. Why do I balance all this? For what? For a couple of dollars or a couple of rupees in my purse? Quit. The easiest solution. And it's a quit from the women's side, it's a quit from the family side.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll earn more, right? The stock market, I'll play a little bit more. You don't go to work. So that's the fastest way to get out of it.
I don't think, a lot of times even it reaches that, the woman herself only gives up saying, okay, it's all right, I will take it. I will take the break. I mean, it happened to me. I mean, my son was in the 10th standard and I have an ailing father-in-law. My husband was like, somebody has to take care. And it's a nuclear family. We are just 3 of us. So who had to move out of the job? And that's why I say it's first hand to me. So I was like, okay, I will manage. I mean, I tried work from home, I mean, pre-COVID, so, but didn't work, so yeah. So yeah, okay. So leaky pipeline. Manjula touched upon this topic yesterday of the pipeline, and I was like, this is such a simple solution, having a proper pipeline, forecasting, manpower. It happens. Everybody closes an AOP numbers every year, and we know the pipeline, but I think the work needs to happen around that. So, like you said, STEM education stops at 24, 25. The company, you were mentioning about the audit that you did for this company, where the policies were in place in this first step of promotion and, was all laid out 3-4 years. But that's where, the first M comes into the play and, people move out and girls, career takes a step back. How do we really address this? I mean, what should we do, and is there a way that we make a better pipeline, or how do we implement a pipeline mechanism here? Any thoughts around that?
Well, I think we were having those discussions over dinner yesterday saying that it's a struggle from a talent acquisition perspective, it's a struggle from a manager perspective. Our head of finance here would tell us that, right? So actually, I think the whole thing is mindset, and we don't have a commitment to it. As a talent acquisition person, do I have a commitment to ensure there's diversity? As a person who's hiring, do I have a commitment to ensure? So there is no commitment. So everybody sees this as a job. And when I started Wequity, I had these grand plans that I would go to organizations and tell them how you can be more inclusive, right? I have diagnostic tools that are a pending patent. I'd go to every organization. I had these grand dreams, right? I have 30 years of experience. I'll come and tell you how to be more inclusive. Did anyone want to listen? My diagnostic tools are gathering dust in a corner. What did they want? They said, you are great in organizing conferences. I've become an event manager. Why? Because you want a checklist. I want to send women for a conference. Tick, I send them to Geetha's Wequities with Fluence, right? I want to sponsor because I have to tell people, no, I'm very inclusive, so I want to sponsor. So yes, tick, I've sponsored a conference. And my women are all speaking at a conference, man. So yes, Geetha, we'll send them. Wequity has another opportunity to give you that's all. And then in the mix, because you know what, I have to preen and show on LinkedIn that I've won an award, I'm giving out awards too. Am I getting anything? My needle? Still there. In spite of me running a company that only focuses on empowering women. And that, I think, is the problem. The core is we don't have commitment. And I was telling you about the four things. So when you're looking at policy, right, we actually did an audit of a company, and they have a policy where like the first level of promotion happens when you're 3 years into the organization. But then we found out that's when marriage happens, or maternity happens, or motherhood happens. And so women lose that opportunity. But if you look at it, it's a very fair policy. For everybody, it's fair. It's based on performance. There are many people, I'm sure, in this room that say equal opportunity employer, right? Then you say it's, we do only performance-based hiring. We do only performance-based promotion. But it doesn't work. So if you all can go back to your organizations and think that, it's not the same for everyone, right? If Sushma and I are watching a cricket match over a wall, right? Who can see better over the wall? You know both our heights, right? Who can see better? Then they come and give us a table like this to stand. For me, it becomes easy because I look over the wall. She'll tower over the wall and the cricket ball might hit her. Right? So if we keep on giving these equal opportunities as peanuts to everybody, what will happen? So I urge you all to go back and look at every policy, every process, every practice. These are the 3 Ps. We translate from M to P now, right? Where you have to look at policies, your practices, and your processes to see if they have equality. Don't look for equal anymore. Equal is old. It has to stay with my generation. Your generation has to look for equality. Because the minute you look for equal, then you're going to give everybody that stool like this. Some of us will topple off it also with our high heels, right? Right? So please look at equality, and that's the first thing that you should look at.
In fact, when you were talking M, I was looking at or thinking of the men around. I mean, that's the other end that I was thinking of, you know. So
as a problem?
No, as the enablers. I mean, when this is what I keep telling my team that you know, there is this thing that I feel that you know, men listen when men talk. You know, which I keep telling to my team that, you know, we should, instead of, you know, having a window to be able to talk to the women in one forum and probably present our case or say why, what we feel. I think it is better that we get a podium where, we have the men coming here and advocate what we are trying to right now put across to the, to the peer group. I mean, so when we go to the corporates, we normally tell them, give us a window where we are able to, have one of your employees who believes in the cause, who sees that, that this equal opportunity should be provided. We'll put that person on the forefront, we'll help prep, but, it'll be your person. Because that ecosystem is only built when, the men support, because that's what the family is all about. I mean, if there is a way that we can find, and that maybe the fifth M now could just be a little more accommodating, managing, and it is going to be difficult. I mean, leaving a job for us is difficult. I'm sure accommodating and managing that would be also equally difficult. We run these webinars, events that we do for, the forces wives. I mean, they give up their careers because they keep moving every 2 years. So there we come across a lot of men encouraging their comebacks, because, I mean, fortunately for us, our platform offers flexibility and work from homes. So there is a possibility where a forces wife could also probably take up a career back. But what more do you think we should be doing or adding, doing more towards, getting this entire ecosystem ready for the comeback or a restart to happen?
I think it starts then from, so what we've seen in organizations is that first it starts from the leader. If the leaders, I mean, and I don't mean like the CEO of the company and all, but just the immediate hiring manager, because it's very hard for, if you see someone physically every day in the office versus someone who's going to come twice a week, or then somebody who's remote and sitting in a location I've never seen, and the only way I see them is through a, may or may not see them through a video camera, right? Because, the Wi-Fi is patchy, so I can't put my video on today. Okay, right? So how do I then, as a manager, rate these people at the end of the year? My natural bias would be, I see this person every day coming to office. In fact, they stay back even more than I do, because I leave at 5 o'clock and the person leaves at 8 o'clock. So you have a tendency, but somebody who's working remote, so that's the first step in terms of the biases that exist in a leader's head. So if you have to look at, and it's an unconscious bias. If we knew it was a conscious bias, we wouldn't do it, because we're all smart people, aren't we? So it's an unconscious bias. So first address that unconscious bias. Then that's the first step, even before you hire. Then you have to hire. Then you go through that whole process of performance appraisal, allocation of work, whether you're giving good projects to people who are working remote versus those. So you, again, I come to my 3 Ps, right? Policy, practice, and process. You have to keep looking at them even for second inning. I'm just doing free promotion for you, Manjula. Second innings, right? Because, yes, you don't have to go around giving your cards at every table, right? Please, go to her second innings. But it's so we've seen women who've come into the workforce, right? They then want mentorship because they're struggling. Because I left the workforce 5 years ago, and the company hires very quickly, and then that's it. They think you're an ordinary employee. You're not. You need some hand-holding. And it's not hand-holding because I don't know the job. It's because all that's going to happen up here. Do I have confidence? I'm always questioning and second-guessing myself. I have imposter syndrome. I don't know how to say no. I don't even know how to say yes. I don't know how to project my brand image. So will I, even be considered? There's so many things happening up here.
Am I good enough?
Am I good enough? Yeah.
Am I still good enough?
So I was okay then. And look at the people who actually studied with me. That guy is a manager already. Poor me, I'm sitting and slaving still at some level low. So it's so many things happening in my head. And as an organization, please, I look at that head. Right? It doesn't form in as a P, but yes, look at the head, pea-sized brain. because it's so important, because people dismiss that, and that's one of the
Yes.
biggest things we get as a request for mentoring from people is, please, I'm struggling. Did I take the right decision? Should I just go back and sit at home? So the second innings is going to even fall off from there also.
Correct. So coming to that thought, returnees, women returnees, a lot of our clients come back to us, corporates asking us to help them with diversity or returnees, and fortunately for me, my organization works and encourages freelance and gig works. We hire or we take people on digital marketing, we do trainings, recruitments, HR and DEI consulting. So we do that for corporates, but and we've been able to grow with all returnees. I mean, I keep telling this that we've moved to a few thousands now, but we are all returnees, all of us. But in the corporate landscape, it's a little different. And since you've experienced it, how conducive or easy is it to create opportunities or flexible opportunities in the corporate side, and have a like second inning back? Is the business really ready? Because yesterday, there was something around, we had some representation from business as well. And, we were talking that, is the business really ready? Is it easy? Because you've been a HR in the corporate side as well.
I love being bracketed under HR. Because, one of the things when my performance appraisal was done way back, okay, they said I had no domain expertise in HR. So I wish people would have heard this then. Because I came in from business into that side, and so they kicked me out. I mean, they have to tell me some reason for not giving me a promotion, because I was so good at that time. But going to this, I think I'm fortunate and blessed to be in the tech industry, where a laptop and a human being are all that is needed, and now we don't even need the human being. But everybody, I mean, you can work remote, you can do all those kind of things. But if you look at, even in the tech industry, where the struggle is coming from is that only certain bits of the organization can be done remote.
Yes.
And only certain bits of the organization, and then if you are doing work for a client, because India is the outsourcing hub, and you would have heard Ritu yesterday with TCS, former TCS retiree. So all of that, my daughter works at Microsoft. At Microsoft, they can work remote. But here, if I'm sitting at an Infosys or a TCS and working at Microsoft, I have to be in the office. They said that there is problems, there is privacy concerns, there's a I have to go to the office. So there is one rule for them and there's one rule for us because we are outsourced. And so that's the struggle we come with, because, and so again, if you are looking for people to come back into the workforce and have another career there, you have to look at what work will really succeed there, because you have to ensure that the first step I take is a successful step. If you're going to make me fall off this platform immediately, then what's the point of hiring me? And it doesn't matter for men or women, it's for anyone, right? Because the first step I take, if you're going to say, now take a step, Geetha, and I stumble, what's the point? So if you, and I come back and spiral back to my commitment, if you truly want a woman to rejoin her career, please ensure that the first step that they take is in a successful career itself, right? Which is the role that you take, which is the job you take, can be done remotely, or it can be done twice or whatever, visiting the office.
So before we really move ahead or probably talk more, I mean, before I close, I think what is important that I personally feel is that, you know, there has to be a role model or a, you know, like what you said, you know, work on the 3 Ps and look at the 3 Ms, you know, create the policies around the 3 Ms, if I was to, you know, and I think my 4th or the 5th M, whatever, that ecosystem back home, needs to really work right for a second inning really to happen. And, is there any specific case study that comes to mind where you've seen a successful, woman returnee or a case like that? Maybe anybody else has experience? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
they're,
Yeah.
yeah. How can she not put in a word, huh?
That's my passion. I love it. On
Who
that
gave her the mic?
love you, Geetha. Right, love you.
Of course.
Literally, yes. Of course, I
There
love
there
you.
are 1 billion or 1.7 billion people in that
Thank
fan
you
club.
Thank you so much, right? So thanks for that. I think I'm blessed to be here. Thank you so much for all of you just listening to me for 2 minutes of it, right? So the PPP, yes, of course it is there. And we are all talking about having the organization, looking for having the practice. But couple of two things I will just give it to you along with the case study so that it just gives you, for all of you to pick it up, right? Encourage your organization members to be a mentor for any of the organization in real terms on their own will. So just this new year, one of the corporate head came to our office, and my office is a very small office, not that I have a big office. He came to office along with his sister. And he was a mentor for 1 year, and he's heading the data science practice. Manjula, the mentoring, what we have just done, my lens has changed. I'm just bringing my sister. So far, I was just making my sister to think, like the way you said, she was wanted to work, and we said, family is important because ailing parents are there, you take care. But now, after doing a 1 year of a mentorship, my lens has changed. I want my sister to be under your umbrella to take care. So this is a corporate person, and now I'll commit to you, when I'm in a position where I can do wonder, I will make sure we are just looking the women in a different specs. Whatever she said, the practice, the small things, but we need to give that window or the opportunity for the men to just come and then do that. So allow, and there is nobody is going to just say no to you, as long as a HR you say, connect with any organization, what bonds to your mind. It is like children, go for it. Is it a women, go for it. Allow them authentically to just get connected. It's an easy one. There's no commercial value inside of that. So that's the easy one which we can do that. The second thing, when we are talking about pipeline, you ask the question, how do we just do about that pipeline, right? All said and done, business is looking for your P&L.
Yes.
There is no, these are all becomes the side story saying that for all of them. So if you're looking for a P&L, as a HR, if we take one more step to look into that, what is your this year forecast or your strategy for building your business? Give me your 10 skill. Out of that, as she was just talking about, pick up that skill which is the L1, which you will not stumble. You just go for it and build that. So if HR can just go one step towards the business to understand and ask the right question and make them to talk about to come back into that, start with your L1 level skill, what is needed. Of course, men is also just falling off, especially from the mid and the top level, because the AI is just ruling the industry like crazy. Unless you're technologically good enough, IT is not going to hold you. So skilling is important for everybody, but then asking that question and bringing that is the good part of it. There's the two things. Now coming back to the case study, I'll just tell you the case study. Recently, I just have my own team member. I've just came back from 20 years of a break. So I just got a message from not even message, we have every Friday well-being call. The daughter came, I never knew, her husband works for L&T. He's in a high position. Again, made wife to just get into that. So she came back and said, 20 years I never seen, my mom is a gold medalist, HR MBA, and she can do the wonder. And Cisco was just coming back and saying, where did you hide these gems so far? Just giving this one skill level, make the wonder. So this is only the case study I can just tell you. I'm sorry to just take it. I will not talk beyond this. Sorry.
I would just like to wrap up with a company that started here in India just like 2 years back. It's Lululemon. They've started their IT hub here in India. One thing is, the day one that they started, they've looked at diversity across the spectrum and said, we hire like that. So There are only 150 now. There must be about 200, 250 people strong. But every aspect of that diversity wheel, they have managed to do. And I know that they're fortunate. They're starting from ground zero. None of us have that advantage, right? But if that thought, and I'm coming back to that, the commitment has to come from the top till that, I'm not putting the recruiter at the bottom, but apparently that recruiter does come at the bottom. Top to bottom, from CEO to recruiter, that commitment has to be there. And policies, practices, processes under the 4 M's, if you don't look at your 4 M's, please, I urge you, go back, because those are big, sometimes we have those, by mistake, they make those roadblocks, that the car goes up and comes down. No, that kind of roadblock, that's as bad for marriage, maternity, motherhood, and menopause. Look at it on all 4 spectrums, right? And look at people, practices, and policies. And then have commitment. So it's a little like, communist regime, CPM, right? So you just remember that. I don't know, should I say vote for them? Okay, so go CPM when you go back. That's all I urge you. And before all of Sushma and the other organizers kick us out, you can say the last word.
So, thank you. So, in the diversity of diversity spectrum that we talk of, I think the first initiation needs to happen, or probably start from the commitment, is to look at returnees, create those policies, look at women per se as in that segment, and the ecosystem of how to make that comeback possible. So I think that's all from me.
That's all. I think in 2006, I started NASSCOM's Diversity Council. And when I started it, we had 600 people, first conference we had. How many of them were men? We had one guy who was doing the emceeing for us. We had 2 people from NASSCOM itself. That's it. And look at this room itself. Diversity and inclusion has become like household chores, only to be done by women. So I urge you all, except all the men in the room, right? But otherwise, any spectrum of the diversity wheel, it is very conveniently only given to women. So the first step, which we forgot 1 M, is the male allies have to be there. Otherwise, it just won't work. They're 51% of India's population.
Yeah.
And you think you can do something without that 51%? No. So that's one other thing. You have to go back to your organizations. Urge the men. You have to get the men on board. And I remember, this is my grand plans of Wequity, where we said we'll take a customer only after interviewing the CEO. Well, thanks to me, I could interview the CEO, but it didn't go further than that. But this, the CEO's claim to diversity and inclusion, and I'm going to stop at that. I have 2 daughters. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can I please request
I've traveled all the way from Bangalore. Okay, I gave you all my insights of CPM. I expect a bigger applause.
Can I please request you both to stay on stage, and I'd request Sushma to please give them the token of appreciation.